All right, so you want to talk about Obama hitting the campaign trail for Kamala Harris?
Well, get this. This isn't just like some quick endorsement. We're talking decades of history between these two.
Yeah,
Reese.
it is a fascinating dynamic. I mean, for sure, adds a whole other layer to this whole election.
Right.
And we're seeing such a close race, potentially decided by razor-thin margins in these key states.
Exactly. And the Daily Beast article that we're diving into today really zooms in on that with this Pennsylvania rally. It might seem like just another campaign stop, but like what's the deeper story here?
Oh, first off, Pennsylvania is more than just any state, right? It's a cornerstone swing state.
Yeah.
And with more electoral votes than those, like winning it could make or break either candidate's chance at the White House. I mean, that's just how important it is.
Okay, so high stakes check. But you mentioned timing earlier. What makes this rally so crucial now?
2 words: mail-in voting.
Okay.
It's already underway in Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
meaning Obama isn't just drumming up, general support. He's trying to mobilize voters to cast their ballots for Harris, like right this minute. Like, go out and do it now.
Wow, that's way more urgent than I initially realized. But let's rewind for a sec. You mentioned decades of history. This goes beyond just politics.
Absolutely. Their story goes back like 20 years to a fundraiser. That's where they first met. And Harris was an early supporter of Obama, even becoming his campaign co-chair in California back in 2007. So, we're talking about a deep well of experience together.
Wow, talk about a full circle moment. So Harris backs Obama, and now he's returning the favor at this like super critical juncture in this election. Is this typical in presidential elections?
It's definitely common to see these kinds of political alliances forming and reforming. But the length and depth of this particular relationship, that's something kind of special. And it speaks to the power of those personal connections, even in the often transactional world of politics. It's like that saying, politics makes strange bedfellows.
Right.
Right. Speaking of relationships, remember that comment that Obama made about Harris?
You mean the best-looking attorney general remark?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it caused a stir, even if he apologized quickly.
Oh, yeah.
But it does make you think, even amidst these like high-stakes campaigns, there's still that human element, those moments of humor or genuine connection that come through.
And those moments can actually reveal a lot about a candidate, right? They kind of humanize these like larger-than-life figures. Give us a glimpse into their personality and how they might operate behind the scenes.
So we've got Obama rallying for Harris in a must-win state against the backdrop of their long history. But how does this impact the average voter? You know the person listening to this right now. That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it goes beyond just these two individuals. We have to consider Michelle Obama's role in all of this as well. Her When We All Vote initiative has been, it's been hugely influential in boosting voter turnout, especially among those demographics that could be, key for a Harris victory.
Right, like engaging younger voters or those who might not usually vote in the midterms.
Exactly. So it's not just Barack out there on the campaign trail, right? It's a united front signaling this deep commitment to get Harris elected. And this ties directly back to your question about impact.
Okay.
See, Obama isn't just any, former president. He still holds pretty significant sway, especially among certain groups of voters.
He's got that star power, right? But does that actually translate to votes? Like, how much influence do you think he really has?
That's what's so fascinating to unpack with all this. He can energize the Democratic base. That's almost a given at this point. But this election is so close, it might come down to those undecided voters, the ones who are perhaps, disillusioned or haven't felt heard. Can Obama reach them? That's the real question.
Okay, so that's the million-dollar question. Even if people are motivated to vote, what are they actually voting for?
Yeah.
This is where the so what comes in for, like, our listener, right?
Absolutely. It's easy to get, swept up in the horse race aspect of an election. But we're talking about real-world consequences here. Healthcare policies, the economy, climate change. These are issues that, directly impact your life. And the outcome of this election could drastically shift the direction we take on these really important fronts.
Yeah, you're right. It's easy to forget that sometimes. It feels so far off, and then suddenly, bam, new policies are affecting your daily life.
And that's why unpacking these political moves matters. By understanding the historical ties, the players, the potential impact on things like voter turnout, it helps you become like a more informed citizen. Not just someone who votes, but someone who understands, like, why they're choosing what they're choosing.
Yeah. It's like having that behind-the-scenes knowledge,
Exactly.
seeing how the gears are turning.
Yeah.
But we've been, like, laser-focused on Obama so far.
Sure.
What about Harris's own efforts this election cycle? This Daily Beast article mentioned something about her strategy. What is she doing to try to win this thing?
Right. She's been focusing heavily on a positive message, highlighting her plans for economic growth and affordable health care. She's also been trying to connect with voters on a more personal level.
Yeah.
Sharing her own story, her own values, that kind of thing.
It's a stark contrast to some of the more, shall we say, spirited rhetoric we've been hearing this election cycle.
Indeed, indeed. And it raises an interesting question about what resonates more with voters. Is it a message of hope and unity? Or is it one that maybe taps into anger and division?
That's something for our listener to ponder for sure.
Yeah.
But before we go too far down that rabbit hole, let's bring it back to Pennsylvania in this rally.
Okay.
What should we be watching for? What are the key takeaways here?
Well, keep an eye on the turnout for this rally, first of all.
Okay.
How many people actually show up? What's the energy like? You know, these can be indicators of voter enthusiasm and potential turnout on election day.
And those undecided voters you mentioned earlier, will they be swayed by like Obama's endorsement and Harris's message?
That's the big unknown, right? It's possible that Obama's presence could be like the push some undecided voters need.
Okay.
Especially if they, trust his judgment, his leadership.
Right. It's like a seal of approval from a respected figure, especially for those who might be on the fence about her. But let's be real, endorsements only go so far.
Exactly. Ultimately, it really comes down to each individual voter.
Okay.
Their concerns, their priorities, and how they view each candidate's ability to address those.
So we've got this fascinating interplay of history, star power, and a very tight race.
Yeah.
What are some key takeaways our listeners should keep in mind? We've got Obama's endorsement, but it's not a guaranteed win for Harris. It all comes down to the voters, right? And what matters most to them in this election.
Right. And you hit on a key point earlier, voter turnout.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how much star power Obama brings or how persuasive their message is if people don't actually go out and cast their ballots.
Yeah, it's like that saying, every vote counts.
Yeah.
But how does it all connect back to like this rally in Pennsylvania?
This rally, with its strategic timing during early voting, it's all about driving those who are already inclined to vote for Harris to do so like now. It's about building that momentum, and making sure those votes are locked in.
So it's as much about mobilization as it is persuasion.
Absolutely. And don't forget, Michelle Obama's, When We All Vote is working hard on this very thing, encouraging registration and participation all across the country.
Yeah.
They're aiming to reach those folks who might be, disengaged or feel their vote doesn't matter.
Which in a race this tight could make all the difference. It's like a political thriller unfolding in real time.
Yeah.
But let's zoom out for a second.
Sure.
Say you're listening to this right now, trying to make sense of this election. What's the most important thing to keep in mind, like, amidst all the noise?
I'd say this. Don't just focus on the headlines or get, caught up in the back and forth. Pay attention to the issues that matter most to you. What are each candidate's stances? How will their policies impact, your life, your community?
Yeah, it's about tuning in, not tuning out.
Exactly.
And honestly, that's what we aim to do with these deep dives, right?
Yep.
Give you the tools to be informed, to think critically, and engage with, the political process. However, you best see fit.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Because in the end, it's not about, Obama or Harris.
Right.
It's about the future that we want to create.
Yeah.
Their actions, this rally, it's all part of a much, much bigger picture.
And that bigger picture is painted by every single vote.
That's right.
So as we round up here, I want to leave you with this. Don't underestimate the power of your own voice, your own vote. Make it count.
Well said. This election, like all elections, is a chance to, shape our collective future. Pay attention, get involved, make your voice heard.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. And remember, stay curious.